Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from Bangkok, Thailand. It's very nice to meet you all again in ASEAN BCG Research Development Program. This is section 4. This is the last section for this series. So very nice to meet you all. And again, we will start with a little bit overview of our program, and we will start the section in very soon. This program actually consists with 2 phases. Phase 1 is online webinar, and this is the last section. We have 9 sections, and we're very glad that we have many thousands of young researchers join the section. And phase 2 is already now open for all researchers that attend phase 1. Applicant profile, it should be sent to our email, aseanbcg@nstda.or.th. The application open until the 1st of May. So we looking forward to receive all applicants and very excited to read the expose of you all. Again, about the program materials, for those who missed some section, you can back to see the presentation of all speaker by scan here. And for the recorded section, you can scan here, link to YouTube. And back to the section, today we very honored to have 3 speakers here with us. Each speaker will introduce themselves, 5 minutes per each, and then we will discuss about the networking skill or some point of view from our speaker, and then Q&A section. And last but not least, we have poll quiz after we finish the webinar. So let me move to Dr. Shaileshing, our moderator today. Dr. Shaileshing, please.
Thank you so much, Pop, for the very clear introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. So hello and welcome to this ASEAN BCG Researcher Development Program, Phase 1, Session 4, which is the online forum on strengthening international research networking skills. So I am Chai Li-Jing, so you can call me Chai, your moderator for today's discussion. We are very, very excited, to have all of you here, and we are especially thrilled to have 3 top active and heavy. When I mention heavy, I mean researchers that carry a lot of weight in ASEAN research. So it doesn't mean that they are heavy by weight. So with us today, so they are Professor Abi Virakumarasiwam from Sunway University, Malaysia. And Professor Abi is an old friend of mine, we are very close. He graduates from University of Cambridge, and he's a trained geneticist, educator, and science communicator. So he won the Best Science Communicator at the International FameLab Finals at the Cheltenham Science Festival, UK. So he's now a provost of Sunway University. And before he became the provost, he was the dean of the School of Medical and Life Sciences. He has won a lot of awards, including the National Cancer Council Malaysia Cancer Research Award, the Merdeka Award Grant, and the Gentile List in 2016. So other than the FameLab, International FameLab Awards that I've mentioned. So Prof. Abi is also the co-chair of the ASEAN Young Scientists Network that represents top young scientists in ASEAN, so who do not only demonstrate academic excellence, but also contribute towards nation building through STEM promotion and advocacy. Other than that, he also chairs the International Network for Government Science at WISE Asia that aims to support the use of scientific evidence in informing policy at all levels of government. And of course, like, his CV is very long, so I'm not going to read everything from the list over here, so that I have a little bit more time, like, also to introduce to you the other two panelists. We have Dr. Nuwong Chulakop from National Energy Technology Center, NTEC, which is NASDA, Thailand. So Dr. Nuwong, so I've known Dr. Nuwong for a very long time also. So it's like an old friend gathering over here. So Dr. Nuwong graduated from Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 2004. He now works under NTEC, so under NASDA, Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation on Transport Biofuel until 2009, and he was awarded Green Talents in 2009, the International Forum for High Potentials in Green Technologies by Federal Ministry of Education and Research, Germany. He continued to work on biofuel in 2017 on B10, which is 10% biofuel blend with diesel, with Department of Alternative Energy Department and Efficiency. So which has resulted in revised national standard of biofuel, B100 and B10. Later in 2018, his research on sustainable mobility with Office of Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning has contributed to GHG emission reduction target in transport sector of Thailand national determined contribution, and further work with ASEAN German Technical Cooperation has resulted in ASEAN Fuel Economy Roadmap 2018. So in addition, he was a founding member of Electric Vehicle Association of Thailand, EVAT, in 2015, and he has served as a committee till now. So his contributions to other associations include founding members of Thailand Energy Storage Technology Association, founding committee of ASEAN Transportation Research Society, co-chairs of Thai Young Scientists Academy, THAISA, and also committee of Thai Society of Mechanical Engineers. So with recent NASDA reorganization in October 2020, has now moved to National Energy Technology Center, NTEC, and his recent work with United Nations Environment Program on electric two-third wheels has resulted in national battery swapping standards under Thai Industry Standard Institution. So his latest focus on resilience in transportation and energy sectors has resulted in Thailand report on climate-proving investment in road rail transport sector with United Nations Development Program and 2021 priority under ASEAN COSTI, which is the Committee on Science, Technology and Innovation. He's currently a director of Low Carbon Energy Research Group at NTEC with Age Index of 21 and over 100 publications in Scopus. That's a long CV too. And welcome, Dr. Nuwong. And finally, we have Dr. Goody. So with me over here, Dr. Goody has sent a long CV too. Dr. Goody Gunadi is a pediatric surgeon, an associate professor from Department of Surgery, Faculty of Medicine, Public Health and Nursing, Universitas Gadjah Mada. He's also the president of the current president, so I think, of Indonesian Young Academy of Science, ELMI, and also the president of Indonesian Society of Human Genetics. He has a lot of professional contributions and appointments, including Committee of Continuing Professional Development under Indonesian Association of Pediatric Surgeons, Secretary of Department of Surgeon, Co-joint Twin Surgical Team, and a lot more over here that I'm not going to read. And he has a lot of research projects that started since 2013 until today. And he has more than 106 publications with a lot of key publications in top journals in the medical field. So with that, I would like to welcome the 3 top and active researchers with us today. So today we are going to discuss how to build and strengthen international research networks. So we all know that research is increasingly global, and collaborations across borders can lead to groundbreaking discoveries and new perspectives on all problems. But building these international networks can be very challenging, especially for early career researchers or those who are new to working across borders. So that's where our panelists come in today, and they have built successful international research networks, and they are here to share their experiences and insight with us on how to build and start international research networking. So before we go further ahead, so I would like to invite probably Prof. Abi first, to share a little bit with us, probably his experience on building international research network, and probably if I've missed any of your awards, probably you can add on. So Abi, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chai. I know when you were making that heavyweight joke, I know it was certainly targeted to me, but it's okay. After all, I must say, I didn't check with Nuong when I agreed to be on this panel. I just assumed that certainly there will be a woman in the panel, but I must say that I was a bit surprised that all 3 were men this morning when I saw the poster. But I'm glad we have Dr. Chai Lei Cheng, who herself is an extremely accomplished food scientist, and she's very well known as the best chair of the Young Scientist Network of the Academy Sciences Malaysia to date. Although I noticed that Associate Professor Dr. Chek Fad, the new chair of the Young Scientist Network of Academy of Sciences Malaysia, is also in today's webinar, and I hope she will chime in a little later on. Jokes aside, inclusivity and diversity in panels, in whatever forums is really important. More so in panels such as this, where we are trying to encourage a dialogue on what excellence actually means. How do we actually develop capacity to drive the kind of excellence that the region needs? And it's becoming very evident. Creating platforms that can promote inclusivity and diverse representation is extremely important. And today's topic, international networking, is actually all about an extension of this need for an inclusive dialogue, an inclusive representation, and more importantly, a convergence of ideas, resources, and influences that can actually help to shape our body of knowledge and extend beyond that through research. So before going into detail, I thought perhaps I can just introduce myself and just give you a little taste of the kind of research collaboration that I was involved in and my experience to date. I trained in the UK and I've been back in Malaysia for more than a decade. And my primary research interest is in cancer genetics, where the focus is developing biomarkers, diagnostic or therapeutics to improve the survival outcomes of individuals who have cancer. And because cancer is a global disease, and there's a lot of global cancer research that's actually happening out there, it's obvious that my research would need and totally rely on international research collaboration. The international research data, be it passive collaboration or actually active collaborations being involved in actual gathering of data. And through these international collaborations in the UK, in the US primarily, I've been able to establish a cancer group today at Sunway University. But in the past 10 years, I must admit that my research has really broadened. And this is because of the roles and opportunities that have been afforded to me by the organizations that have employed me, or through the voluntary organizations that I've been involved in. And it's through these additional experiences, I've realized that my role as a researcher in ASEAN extends beyond just doing research. This is why many people tell me and ask me, Haya, why did you come back, from the UK? You could have stayed on. And it's true, there are certain reasons why people may stay on, and there's no judgment there. But I think the panelists today and many of you in the webinar will realize that unless you're back home, you never realize the value that you can actually bring. And I think all of us realize that our true potential has been developed locally. And it's through these experiences that I've realized that I've needed to bolster our research ecosystem. And so beyond cancer genetics, my networks and collaborations have now focused on science leadership, science communication, and science integrity, which I think are all pillars towards research. And this is where I've also realized that while I still need to do global networking, over the last decade, if I'm really honest, what I've truly benefited from in my own professional development, as well as the work that has been done, is not the regional network with the global north, but actually the regional network and collaboration within Southeast Asia. Collaborations with TAISA through the ASEAN Young Scientist Network and knowing people like Nuong or Rakanok, have been one of the biggest, if not most important milestones that have actually, and catalysts that have actually helped me. I think it's really important, and I hope today we can dissect this issue, because we all recognize that science has no boundaries. Science develops internationally. But a major problem is that our funding institutions, especially in the region, are all mainly national. And we all have national agendas and priorities that needs to be addressed. And sometimes this is where the dichotomy can result in the inability to connect regionally or internationally. But I hope that, today I'll be able to share my appreciation that while regional collaboration, sharing of the same resource constraints, and we can all appreciate that, when we were in the UK, when with the US, we had this, and now we don't have it. That's of course something that we can share commonalities. But I want us to appreciate that the number one thing that we have is our proximity. The fact that we can reach out and meet and, and be really efficient, cost efficient in this is a major goal. Another important thing is that I think organizations like ASEAN and also international organizations like EURAXESS have provided us an opportunity and a platform that for us to come up with what are our regional goals and regional goals that are aligned to national goals. And finally, I see Nuong as my extended family, right? Even though he doesn't look like me, doesn't speak like me, and I'm certainly slightly better looking, we share this ASEAN or Southeast Asian cultural context, right? With stupid jokes, right? Or lame jokes or uncle jokes. We share this cultural context and an appreciation that I don't have that same appreciation with my colleagues, in Europe or America. And that's because we have a shared historical experience that I think is embedded in our DNA. And I think for me, that has been my biggest benefit. And let's face it, I won't be on this webinar if it wasn't for that ASEAN research collaboration. So I think I've extended beyond 5 minutes. Chai is staring at me and saying, okay, Abi, keep quiet now and give other people a chance. So the next question, maybe you let the other person answer it first.
Thank you, Abi. Right now, probably let's hear from the better looking Nuong.
Yeah, I won't take all the time, but so Abby take out half of my time already. So just want to clarify that, I'm not better looking than him because I don't have any facial hair. And also I think we are friends here. I think I just want to echo a few points because one point that I really like from Abby glamorous introduction is that I think all of us who had experience studying abroad actually come back to hometown. And I think you were asked, I was asked for the same reason why I want to come back. But of course, I was on a government scholarship, different from Abby, that I had to come back. But actually, all my friends, who went abroad on free scholarship, did come back, and all the answer say that, of course, we learn experience, we learn technology, we learn the knowledge abroad, but we want to build on and make our home a better place. I'm not going to be like a Miss Universe competition or something, trying to say a good thing, but this is actually, embedded in our, like I would say Asian style culture, just to reflect Abby as well, because like I said, we do have our research excellence here. We do have a long profile here. We do have a academic and technical capability here. But what we really need is actually a friend to actually, go beyond collaboration. I always say, with all my research team is that, collaboration is one thing, but for me, you want to take the collaboration next to the friendship stage, where you actually start to care about each other, start to learn about, what is in for us, not what is in for me. In the collaboration, if you start the mindset with what is in for me, then it's just only, I don't want to make this like a prejudice, but it's just like a typical, collaboration where you put the money on the table and say, okay, what's in this pot? What is in for me? But if you actually take a step back and think of your partner, of your collaborator, of your friend, what do they need, so that we can have the win-win situation. And I think that is sustainable. I go to many circle of collaborators, circle of friendship, and circle of people who are seeking out, just to have a collaboration, because I think we cannot deny that this day, I would say almost all funding agency doesn't need more than one partner, more than one party. Why? Because to welcome diversity, to welcome inclusiveness, like what Abby has mentioned, and also to inspire, the innovative process that we cannot think if we are only in one team, we can learn from others. And I do also really agree that, all of us here, I'm pretty sure that you went through a good collaboration, a social collaboration, and the collaboration that if you knew before, and you're not gonna get involved in this kind of thing. So this is like a learning process. And of course, I think among the three panelists here, we also learning as everyone do. We may be lucky to get to have a chance to experience a very good, friendship, a very good collaborator. But at the end of the day, you must be asking yourself, do you enjoy doing this kind of collaboration? If you does, then you move forward. If you feel some doubt, and also you say, oh, maybe this isn't right, maybe this is not only for superficial, then try something else. You never be blocked by or having to force to do with this collaborator all the time. Just explore, friendship, partnership. And just, today I'm joining this collaboration network online. I'm actually in Jakarta now. I'm borrowing my friend co-working space. I have this virtual background, but if I take it off, it will say BPPT here. For those in Indonesia, I'm in Brin, in Jakarta office. So this is why the friend for. We just chat and I said, oh, I need some place to stay. And they said, okay, sure, use the co-working space. So this is something you start to build up the friendship, and of course, that will lead to some of the collaboration at the end. I think I used up my 3 minutes and plus 2 minutes from Abby. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nuwong. And finally, so we have Dr. Gunadi. So this is the first time I meet Dr. Gunadi. So perhaps this is like, the chance to build the network over here today also. Dr. Gunadi, so would you be able to share with us like, a little bit of your experience or your view on international networking?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear my voice? Dr. Lei, can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear you clear and loud.
Connection is not so good. It's okay now? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as Dr. Lei introduction, very nice introduction. I'm pediatric surgeon consultant, associate professor of pediatric surgery in Universitas Gadjah Mada. And because of my duty as a lecturer as well, and also researcher, I think Indonesia, the system in Indonesia is similar or no in other country, I don't know, but Indonesia to be full professor, we have to have 3 duties: education, research, and community services. We have to perform 3 in one semester, in 1 year. And regarding international collaboration, then mostly we are talking about education and research. And particularly myself is international head of academic internationalization in Faculty of Medicine, Public Health and Nursing, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And we are always looking for institutions who are willing to accept our student for outgoing elective at least 1 month. And also we are accepting overseas student to coming as incoming student in our university or in our hospital. And this is what we have done so far since 2016. And because of that, we are also interact not only discussing about education, but also research as well. And this is one my best practice. And another best practice during my career today until today is we are I'm head of Indonesian Young Scientists Academy, ALMI, and also Indonesian Society of Human Genetics. And because of my position, it's make myself a lot of friend, a lot of researcher from overseas. Then we can make collaboration very easy and very fruitful, because our society is very niche, like say genetics, human genetics, and young scientists, and then myself as pediatric surgeon is very niche. And what we are doing until now is we are inviting collaborator from overseas, visiting professor, guest lecturer. We have program in our institution we call it as visiting professor and guest lecturer. And then we provide budget for all lecturer in our institution to invite the researcher, very good researcher, of course, from very high rank institution, to collaborate regarding research, regarding education, and regarding joint publication or joint supervision for student, PhD student or a master student. Sorry, my connection is not so good here. And then I continue. And we also, what we have done so far, we also, the most effective way to make collaboration is to hold or to conduct international symposium. This is also interest for many overseas or expert from overseas is coming to our country and our institution. Because when we conduct international symposium, particularly offline, now we are becoming offline again after COVID-19 finish, hopefully. And this is the most, I think, the most effective way to meet, interact, and to have let's say joint research, joint supervision, joint publication. That's three part of, I think, the way how we build international collaboration. And then last not the least, I think we also can look for other possibility, like let's say fellowship, and then scholarship, like DAAD. I also joined DAAD regional workshop for 2 weeks before COVID in German, Hanover. And this is, we can meet all other internationalization team in that workshop. I think it's all in this year is already announced that program again, offline again after 3 years, I think, going online. But now it's becoming interesting because we are going to Hanover in the next October, and then depend on where you coming from. In Africa, maybe we will going somewhere, and if you are coming from Asia, the second phase you will going to India, Manipal. This is also good chance for us, particularly young researcher, to get along or more involved in international collaboration. I think that's Dr. Lei from myself, our best practice, how to make good international collaboration with others experts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gunadi. I actually have a long list of questions to start with. But before I start those questions, so I just want to remind everyone that this is an interactive forum. So we want to hear from all of you. So I will take probably 30 minutes for this discussion to go on. While at the meantime, if you have questions please write it down. You can write it down in the chat room over here, or you can raise your hands later on when we open up the session for direct interaction. Do take this chance to ask our panelists over here on how you could actually start your international collaboration. So well, we have heard from the three panelists over here. I myself have this very interesting, I always wanted to ask these questions, as a lot of early career researchers have asked the same questions. Is there any specific skills required, or probably you yourself, based on your experience, what skills you take to actually reach out to international collaborators, or a very famous say Nobel laureate that you would like to collaborate with? So how do you reach out to them? Do you just go ahead and write an email to them, or is there any skills that will help you to collaborate better, or at least to initiate that type of collaboration? There are a lot of times that when we go to all those big conferences, academic conferences, a lot of participants, and you find yourself so difficult to blend in, to start and initiate a conversation. So how do you do that? Probably you could share a little bit with us. So any of you, Nwong, Abi, or Dr. Gunadi?
Okay, since you say my name first, so I assume that you, in your back of your mind, you want me to say something. So I think my only answer, or one of my personal answer to get to talk to those famous, Nobel laureate professor or something, is your self-confidence and your braveness. Like many times you feel, oh, I'm just a small researcher working in this small university, having this small grant, and I love what he or she is talking about this thing. Just go up and ask the person. Of course, like writing email. I think many of you have probably found that if you email a very famous person, you get reply in a month, you're lucky. Usually you don't get any reply out because they already get like tons of email every day. When I was studying, back in MIT with my advisor in 1999, he told me on the average, he got 500 email every day asking for, can I be your PhD student? Can I come to be a postdoc? So, imagine that was almost 20 years ago, where people still use email on well, maybe not as much as now, but I think nowadays you can expect that, many of the email coming in. Of course, if they reply, be good. If not, then don't give up. Just my before COVID, I think of course the best thing is just to go to attend in person the talk, any chance, and go up and ask them, tell them something that that would interest them. I used to go to a training by the GSZ folks, when they do the what they call the practice talking. So they said your opening statement is very important. There are 3 things to kick off your conversation. First, asking the audience or engaging audience or engaging your partner on something that they did not know or you think they didn't know, something new. For example, like, oh, do you know, like, for example, we can create a sun on Earth for 100 seconds, something like that. Something that probably engage people would think, really? Then you actually continue your conversation. Right? Secondly, tell them something that people usually know, but on a different perspective. Like, for example, I was actually hearing this from one of my one of the conference I attended before. Like, they were saying, oh, if you look at how many roads that we have produced in Thailand, we actually connect all the roads and we can go to the moon 5 times. Something like that. That just actually engage people to join. Or third is just to ask a question that that of course the speaker, the one you're talking to, did not address or were involved in that. So I think this kind of thing is just to break the ice so that you can start to actually engage, get the interest from the person, and also maybe continue saying, oh, by the way, I'm also working on this, blah, 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 the same thing. But of course, you have to have the confidence in yourself. You know the best in what you're doing. This is probably the same advice I give to all my PhD students, because even though I'm your advisor, even though I'm your committee, I do not know as much as you do. I may know in general, like, so don't bullshit me. I know if you make the data, I know what it looked like, but at least give yourself a confidence, and then go up and talk. And some people would say, oh, my English is not good, my accent is not good. I told them, it's your problem to speak, and it's their problem to understand. So it's not your problem to make them understand. So just do it. Sorry, that's it for now. Maybe let other two panelists share too. Thank you.
Dr. Gunadi, you can go first, or whichever. If you want me to go first, I can. Okay, I'll go. Okay. Just building on what Nuong mentioned, I think one of these things of major realization that I've had, especially at international conferences, is what I always term the ASEAN silence. And you find that when I go for the Global Young Academy meetings or at international global conferences, besides, of course, the global north, they have no problems conveying their opinions. But you'll find that, researchers from Africa, researchers from Latin America are a lot more, sort of confident in expressing themselves, and perhaps even exposing themselves. But anyway, you'll stick to expressing themselves. But in the case of Malaysian researchers and researchers in Southeast Asia, I've noticed they are as talented or perhaps even more talented. They even have more body of work, but they certainly have an inhibition. And I think because culturally, and I think most of us will understand, coming from an Asian community, we have grown up with our parents telling us, try to be like the neighbors. What will the neighbors say? And we are continuously assessing and benchmarking us. And this is a real phenomenon. I think a lot of us are suffer from what is called the imposter syndrome. And I think women in general have that more than men. And that's because they are unable to internalize their own achievement. And so all of you here today are, experts, you are scientists, you have, credibility, but yet because we compare with people that have different levels of resources, different levels of opportunities, and we think that maybe we are not as good as we are. So really, the first thing that we need to do is to break that imposter syndrome. Stop judging ourselves. right? And really ask ourselves, what is it that we want to achieve? And if you know exactly what you want to achieve, then that will be the first step, to go and try and get it. Now, I'll slightly disagree with Nuong, and I'll say that, just to create a bit of drama, is that I also think that the person that, and I can say this, 15, it's almost 2 decades since, I did my PhD. What I've realized is that we often think that the people that are going to help us and are able to support us are the ones that are these Nobel Prize winners and whatever it is. But when you think about this, why should they help us? What is in it for them, right? And especially when they have so many people that they have to deal with. So my thing is that, yes, go and reach out to them. If you see them, go and talk to them, try and build that, collab, whatever that you want to try and do. But I think you need to start asking yourselves what resources that you have, right? If every year you only have budget of 500 US dollars, to go overseas, why are you still thinking of going to Europe? Think about going to Philippines, think about going to Thailand, think about coming to Malaysia, think about going to Indonesia, anywhere in the Southeast Asia. And actually, with that money, you can truly start building the friendship. And it might not be a Q1 paper that you first publish, but guess what? It's about building that local capacity and what have you. And so I'm going to stop here so that, and I've seen Dr. Gunadi now shaking his head. So my point is, number one, Chai, what talents you need is actually to unleash your talent by breaking that imposter syndrome. Everyone here already has the talent. The problem here is that, are they able to showcase their talent? And this is where Nuong talked about, being able to know when to communicate. But my second point is also the talent and skill set to have that appreciation that if your resource is this much, you know what? The best place to invest your resource is regional collaboration. I'll stop here now.
Thank you, Avi. Dr. Gunadi, do you have anything to add on?
Yes, yeah. When we are talking about how to reach out the Nobel laureate is yeah, I do agree with about speaker. Yeah, it's sometimes, yeah, of course there is an obstacle or challenge, yeah, because they will receive many email, yeah, every day, just like Dr. Nuong said that. However, if you might try, and we don't know how do they will respond to your email. Because in my experience, when I reach out, the most scientists, yeah, the most very high scientist in my field in pediatric surgery. He is pediatric. He is president of World Federation of Pediatric Surgeon. He was president of European Society of Pediatric Surgeon. He was so many incredible achievement. And when we email, when we just email him, and he reply and okay, I will come to your institution to give invited speech in your meeting. Just like I said previously, that my best practice is one of the to make a good research collaboration to hold international symposium, and then another I think because of our achievement as well, so that's why they notice our email, because when he called, he suddenly emailed me, and he asked my WhatsApp number because he wants to call me directly, and he asked me whether I'm full professor or not, because he said you have many publication in the field of pediatric surgeon. So what my message here, if our achievement is good enough to make a contact, then we may try. But how about if young researcher just finished PhD and finished PhD and maybe not so many publication in the field? Maybe what they do, instead of directly contact by email, maybe first just going to international symposium in the field, very niche, specific, the field of the young researcher, and then, and in our experience, most of Nobel laureate or etc. They are very welcoming to young researcher, PhDs, just finished PhD, maybe less than 5 years, and they are eager to discuss, and if we already face-to-face discussion, and then when we are introducing ourselves during our email, then we are just sending greetings, and sometimes giving our picture together in the meeting, that please, maybe you remember me when we are meeting in the first international symposium, and then is it possible if we are we are doing collaboration, research collaboration? I think that's the most effective way in our best practice for young researcher. I think it's very difficult if to make attention, to distract, to reply our email. But it's very different for Dr. Nuwong and Dr. Abi. If they email Nobel laureate, maybe they already recognize their achievement. But for young researchers, sometimes it's very difficult, and then you just go to international symposium in your field, and then discuss directly face-to-face with the Nobel laureate, or you want to interact more, and then send email. Then I think they will get a notice from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gunadi. So you mentioned about the early career researchers, or just graduate, as a student now join the academic. So my question here is a lot of people ask when should we start to initiate collaboration? Do we wait until you get a research grant only you start to ask about for researchers to join your team, or you should actually start before? Could you start when you are early career researchers, you have nothing in hands, I think Nur Musfira over here mentioned limited resources also limit them to reach out to initiate this collaboration. But it's a chicken and egg issues, right? Without the collaboration, probably you can't even start applying for certain type of grant. And when a grant start calling, only then you start to look for collaborators. So is it going to be too late to actually initiate? So what's your thought about this?
Me?
Yeah, Dr. Gunadi, or probably
okay.
Abi, you want to start first, or anyone?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. I think every institution have a grant, even limited for research. Yeah, very limited. We can start from that point. So of course, very difficult if we want to catch the big grant, let's say international grant, without any achievement yet. So we can start from small thing, small grant from our institution or from our minister in our country. I think they in Indonesia, even in our institution, in faculty, there is a grant. In university level, there is a grant, or even in minister level, there is a grant. We can start from that point. So for young researcher, that's our best practice in Indonesia. And then after that, we can start write a paper from that research grant. A small research grant, but it's fine. We can start from the scratch. We can start from a very small, but always you have in mind, you have to publish from your research grant, because from your publication, other researcher, particularly from overseas, will see your achievement from your publication. It's not because, oh, okay, Gunadi, so many publication in genetic of Hirschsprung, let's say. They will notice from the publication. But to do that, we have to start from small grant, either from faculty, institution, university level, or even in more higher in national level in Indonesia. That's what our best practice, Dr. Lei.
Okay. Yeah, no, so I totally agree. In fact, I'm going to move to Indonesia since there's grant at every level. Jokes aside, I think I'm of the view, though, that grants must not be seen as the finality of research collaborations or even the start of a collaboration. I always think that grants are facilitators of collaborations. And it's true, sometimes it's the grant call that will say, let's call people to come in together and let's apply for it. And so therefore I agree with Gunadi that that's one approach. But I think, this is a really important question that we have to ask, and I think it fits into the earlier question, Chai, is why is it that we're doing international collaboration? Are we doing international collaboration so that we get more research papers, so that we can apply for research grants, or are we trying to achieve a certain goal or purpose? When I think about the best collaborations and the continued collaborations that I still have now, and although the pandemic did affect significantly, one of the reasons why Nuong and I, even though we are in complete different areas of research, we share this collective mission that one day, we will really have an ASEAN research community that's really collaborating seamlessly. The next time, there's a major pandemic, we can be the center of where innovations are actually happening and not waiting for CDC and WHO to respond and, whatever it is. And so therefore, whenever there are opportunities or when there's no opportunities also, if I email Nuong or Nuong emails me, as much as we want to say no, we will say yes. Because there is that sense of belief that we have a collective purpose. And so, Chai, I think for me, another skill set is our research post-pandemic has to be purpose-driven research. And if all of us as researchers know exactly what our purpose is, we can start connecting with people independent whether there's grant or not. And actually, when there's no grant, you have less time pressure. You can actually focus on really elucidating what is it that you want to achieve, what is it that I want to achieve, and then come to an agreement that this is what we're going to try and get there. Because there's always grants everywhere, as Junadi said. If you ask Euraccess, I'm sure one of the things that Jen and Simon are looking for is great applications, not just number of applications. And so if we define our research collaboration by reaching specific collaborative grant deadlines, we will always result in the purpose being the secondary mission. So my thing is that, especially if I can tell my 20 years younger self, is that let's really clarify this mission. Let me get these people that I'm going to work with for the next 40 years that share this mission. Whether got grant or not, ideation is free. Time, that we can take out of our working time, the number of things that you and I, Chai, do, and Nuong and O, is all after working hours, which is free time. And it's all that impact, writing proposals, putting together things, proposals to people that don't even know what we want to do yet, creating, brainstorming, fighting, arguing, coming to a common goal, for me, is the number one thing. And so I'm not saying that if there's a research grant, don't apply if you don't have a collaboration. That can be a stimuli to actually attract. But if there are no grants, it does not mean that you cannot start collaborating now. which is why I think the other element of young academies is really important. I think Indonesia has the Young Academy ALMI, TAISA, YSN, ASM. The Philippines have their Young Academy as well. All of these young academies play such an important role because they start building the collaborations. Yeah. The other thing about creating international collaboration, your international collaboration will not be strong enough if you don't have strong enough national collaboration. Right? Gunadi said one thing very important to have a good publication profile if you have, depending on your early career, right? If your early career, you may not need it as much, but certainly as you grow forward, yeah. But besides that, it's also your local standard. I have benefited so much through the National Young Academy because by having networks and friends in Malaysia, that gives me credibility to collaborate with international partners. When international partners come to Malaysia, they go, oh, Abi has so many friends and networks. He must be somebody that we should collaborate with. So this important thing about international network collaboration must not detract away from that important fundamental value of having a very strong local network that forms the basis for that international collaboration. Hi, over to you.
Thank you, Abi. Nuong, you have anything to add on?
I think, Chai, you mentioned the question when to start collaboration,
Yes.
right? So my answer is yesterday. So everyone now is already one day late to start and reach out. And I of course, I want to emphasize, I think Dr. Gunai and Mr. Abi, that, just go out and be friend and also seeking out and see what you can take on that. I think many of my project is actually based on, oh, this person I met, like a few years ago. Yeah, let me check what's his name again, and also look at the name card or look at the Facebook or whatever the LinkedIn, and then boom, you get that. You never know. Yeah, it's not like, oh, you get a grant now, you have to go find this partner by this deadline. That is typically very risky. Reading to the something you just know for a few weeks before writing a proposal. I think that will determine the success of the future project. So that's all I can share now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You mentioned about all this, the importance to initiate, collaboration, not waiting for a grant, to start. And also Abi mentioned, or highlight or emphasis on the importance of, having, the friendship, is really very important. Getting to know, the person that you work with. When we collaborate or work across, particularly with researchers from different background, different disciplines, different country, they carry different values, into the collaboration with their own cultures, their own behavior in collaborating. Could you probably share with us a little bit, probably your good or bad experience, working with, whether you define, that as a good collaborator or bad collaborator, in your opinion? What are the characteristics, that one should bring in so that you could have a successful collaboration, particularly international collaboration that has more challenge, in maintaining, in establishing and also maintaining that good relationship?
Okay, I'll go first. So as a geneticist, as a biologist, I think there's a particular relationship called mutualism, right? And I think this is a really important thing, and I think Nuong mentioned this in his first point: win-win. So I think for me, that's the number one thing, Chai. You must go into a collaboration knowing that your partner must benefit. And I also advise many of my, even within Sunway University, researchers or even academics who are trying to collaborate with stuff. Sometimes we are so focused on how we're going to benefit. We even sometimes have a problem when our partner is benefiting, when we are not benefiting. And I always say, if that person is your partner, it's okay for them to benefit when you don't benefit. As long as the relationship is not a parasitic relationship. where you are suffering and becoming it, and it's detrimental. I think you have to be very comfortable that if you are talking about a collaboration that's going to last for many years, that there are going to be moments in the collaboration that the other partner is going to benefit more. And it's okay, because when your friend is actually happy, guess what? You should feel happy. And I think that number one thing of mutualism is really important. The second is, Chai, you bring up this diverse, that, you know, sort of, you mentioned something earlier about the fact that we have different cultures and, you know, slight variations. And it's true. But I think that is all about diversity and inclusivity training. We have to accept that we're different and we've got different backgrounds. And this can only, you know, move from acceptance to actually, you know, really embracing it is the second quality, that is respect. I think, you know, when I started off, you know, 20 years ago, I may have lacked respect and thoughtfulness a little bit. I felt that all my team members must think like me, must have the same kind of way of doing things. But over time, I realized that the only way that this can happen is to clone myself and also clone my parents, because they must make sure that the DNA alone doesn't determine your phenotype and who you are. So it's really important to understand that it's nonsense if you want to have a team that is all yourself. You have to accept that you have all of this. But you then have to ask yourself, and this is really important in all collaborations. And generally speaking, you know, there is actually a way you can assess whether your relationship is working. Number one is by asking yourself whether you achieve what your collaboration meant to achieve. Whether you can measure your achievements, and this is where through publications and stuff. But the third one, and especially now when I'm in my 40s, I always ask myself, am I actually having fun or not? Am I happy when I actually see this collaborator or not? Or am I just unnecessarily stressed? And if the answer is the latter, you will see over time, I will stop collaborating with that person. Because I believe that there's more to life than just, you know, trying to publish papers and whatever it is. There is a human dimension that I think Nu Wong mentioned it at the first. And so you have to ask yourself, are you happy? And are you happy can come from an attitude, but it's also an appreciation of what value everybody brings. So I think it's also equally important is that we don't collaborate for the sake of collaborating, but we collaborate because I know what Nu Wong will bring to me, what Cha you will bring to me, what Gunadi will bring to me, and I know what I am going to give them. Because as much as you ask the question, what do I value? Also ask the question, what is my value to them? And I think it's really, really important to be able to calibrate that values, what you give and what you take.
Thank you, Abi. So I think that if you clone each of you, like, you know, to collaborate, I think you are going to have a fight. It's going to be a failed collaboration because everyone is too
Right.
vocal.
I will hate Abi clone too. 100%, I can guarantee.
You will fight with yourself. So all of us, like, you know, complement each other. I think that's how, like, you know, a successful collaboration works, because we all bring in different value. Anything that Nu Wong and Dr. Gunadi wanted to probably add on? So before I open up the floor, like, you know, to break the ASEAN silence over here.
I can add on. I think I really like the echo to Abby's last point, having fun. I think, I don't know, maybe it's 40 thing, you know, like I start to, of course, you know, I agree with you, like what is it for, what can I bring to them, what they can bring to me, but later and later, I think once you start to have luxury of freedom of collaborating, you know, like once you somewhat established, you can now choose who you want to collaborate with, not like you are in search of some collaboration. So I think that will come after you experience good and bad collaboration. Just a few tips that I think, of course, you know, I've been go through good and bad one. I would just maybe say about the bad one first, because I think that may be some of the a fear of people who going to seek out collaborator coming from different part of the world, coming from different background, coming from different discipline, of course. like I think I like the term that our biologist Abby used, the parasite, right? For me, I think, of course, sometimes we have no choice, but we have to collaborate with this person, and we found, oh, they're just adding a name on, those kind of things. For me, as much as I want to stop collaborating, I just make it just that it finished. I was a perfectionist before, but when time as I get older and more work coming in, I learned to prioritize. I learned to, okay, this I have to do a perfect job. This one, just finish it because I need to do some other thing. So for bad collaboration, I think I would advise, because you never know if that person can turn around and be someone you may have to beg for money or beg for a grant later. But just let it finish on a good term. Like, even though you have to do like 70% of their work or 100% of their work, and they just add in the name. I used to do that, and guess what? Sometimes that, like, yes, I would say good deed that you did without expecting some return, it actually come back. Not all of them, of course, because people are different. But of course, we respect that, and we have to respect our decision that we join the person for them, and so let it finish, and then we can say, oh, for next one, maybe I was busy or something, and find a good political excuse, not to repeat the same mistake again. But sometimes some of those not so-called good memories of collaborating come back with some of the good terms. So that's just one to share. Of course, for the good collaboration, I think everyone can enjoy that benefit already. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gunadi, anything? Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Actually, each collaborator must understand the local situation in each country if we talk about international collaboration. Because I think Dr. Abi also geneticist, I'm also human geneticist, particularly in pediatric surgery field. When we are talking about international collaboration, we are talking about sharing biological samples. For instance, now we are still collaboration with Johns Hopkins University with Professor Aravinda, and now he moved to New York University, and we are sending biological sample to be analyzed together with other country in the world. And each country have specific requirement such as ethical clearance, ethical approval, material transfer agreement. And nowadays, I think each country becoming more strict for the rule, particularly sharing the biological sample. But if we just sending to outsourcing for particular analyze NGS, for instance, I think it's fine. But when we keep in other biobanking in other institutions, then I think there is a particular regulation should be understood by each collaborator. And then I think each country have their own regulation and should be understood by other part of collaborator. Then maybe Dr. Abi said about mutualism here. And if we understand our each part situation, particularly the regulation, and then it's fine. We can go ahead with the collaboration. And maybe if you sometimes read a newspaper regarding some researcher is blacklist to come to Indonesia, I think that's we have to understand the both perspective. I think we cannot judge from one perspective, but we have to look at another perspective. Maybe we don't know in our minister, let's say, who blacklist some researcher from other country. I think my message is we have to understand the regulation and not just from our own point of view. That's my message, Dr. Lei.
Yeah, thank you. So just would like to summarize, like, I think as a good collaborator, you need to be able to respect others, be empathy, and have fun, and also like, understand and aware of differences, like, particularly legal differences, ethical, cultural differences, like, from country to country or from discipline to discipline. So right now, let us like, break the ASEAN silence. And you need to unleash your talent right now and voice up. So I'll open up the floor. So any one of you have questions like, to ask to any of the panelists over here, please put up your hand, unmute your mic, and you can, when I call you, you can unmute your mic and start talking.
Hi, can I suggest that it's not even questions, if they have opinions
Oh, yes.
or
Yes,
even
if you have
sharing of their
opinion.
stories, feel free to speak. Sorry.
Sure,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. So please, it's your time right now. Who want to start first? I see that we have like, more than 100 participants over here. Could we
Don't
have,
prove me right. Prove me wrong.
could they have like, 1 out of 100, like, to put up their hand to break the silence first? I believe that one will break the silence, and after that, like, everyone will have the courage to follow suit.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, yes, Za Sakura.
Yeah, it's me. Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello.
Dr. Anna from Unimas, Sarawak, Malaysia. So I have a question, then maybe it's not a question, like actually it's something like a comment regarding on the age limit. Okay, as we know, towards the career development, it takes some time for us to get established in the research and also to find our niche. So by the time we stabilize our research, and then suddenly some of the program has stated the age limit. Okay, for example, the ASEAN also limit the age of the participant up to 45 years old, right?
Yeah.
So I do hope the program can consider, especially the international program, can consider the age limit. Especially for the woman, we also need sometimes to focus on the family rather than on the career alone. So I think maybe the panel also can raise the issue to the admin as well.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I cannot disagree with you. I'm 43 years old, so I am also coming close to 45. So I want to break that ceiling to So first of all, Sakura, I think number one, I think it's very important that we have age limits. But that does not mean that we have to stop opportunities for everyone. That does not mean that we think that chronological age is the only way to measure somebody's trajectory and whatever it is. But when you talk about policies, when you talk about having at least a first filter, one of the problems that I never faced, but I know a lot of people face, is the boomers and the people who never want to retire. I've been very lucky to have mentors, sponsors who have given me all the opportunities. But I know so many more talented people, young people who have become demotivated, has had their career stunted, and essentially affected because of not having age limits, not having tenures, not having various different things. So I think it's really important from a macro level, policy level, having these chronological ages. But maybe one thing that we don't communicate very well, including at the ASEAN Young Scientists Network and also with ASEAN, is there are always exceptions, because we know that there are individuals that may have started a PhD late.
Yes.
So they might be 45, but they might have just be 2 years post PhD. And so it's really, really important that maybe this is something Nuong we must bring it up to ASEAN and actually be able to clear that, even though we have those limits, so that people like me don't claim to be young all the time. I must give chance to the next generation of people, then the younger ones are going to always have a better idea, more relevant idea, and they can build on, our ideas, right? So it's important to do that. But I also think you have reminded us the importance for us to communicate that those people who don't follow that mainstream trajectory should be given that. And actually, women, single mothers, or people that have had, to take big career breaks because they have to look
Yes.
after their parents or because of a disease or any circumstances, right? I think these exceptions must be very clear so that these individuals have that opportunity that perhaps their own personal circumstances had robbed them of that. Yeah. Thanks, Sakura,
Thank you.
for that reminder.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. So actually, that is also one of the reasons why, for Malaysian Young Scientists Network, we have recently, extended the age from 40 to 45. Of course, there's still a need, for that age limit over here, as what Abi has mentioned. And the terms young also, it's how young and what is young. So
Yeah,
45.
we also still looks young.
Yeah, we are all young by heart.
Especially when
young.
we have web filters.
Okay, but that's a very good, comment, and to speak up, in terms of age over here, because this is always, something, it's not new comments, or topics, brought up for discussion, but it's something that has been on for discussion over here, in terms of the age issues.
Yeah. Can I
And
just
I
add one more thing?
I have a
Abi,
comment.
yes.
Oh, sorry, Gunadi was going to say something. Gunadi, go ahead.
Sure, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the message, the also important message is the diversity, particularly the women. So that's why in Indonesian Young Academy of Science, ALMI, we always make the composition, even the female is higher. I mean, the number of in our board member, we are always consider equal number, at least equal, but higher number of it's better for women, beside the age limitation, because I think in previous, maybe more decade ago, is the role of women is in science, in research is not so appreciated, but now currently is getting better, and we have encouraged female researcher and with diverse diversity, and it's I think it's good if we start from that point. Diversity is good, inclusivity and diversity is, I think this is the most important for international collaboration. Yeah, thank you.
I forgot to mention one other thing. So I think many of you know that, those who know me very well, I'm more a people's person. I really don't like social media. I'm really not active on it, but I still maintain, social media pages only because it's part of my job requirement to be visible, and also just generally keeping, a very inorganic relationship with the people. But I must say when you talk about skills just now and what have you, in today's world, it is true. It's not the reality, it's the perceived reality. The number of people who, just because they tag me or, something that's associated it or like it, people make connections, people make an assumption that you're relevant because you are appearing on their pages. The reason why I say this is because actually a number of you have added me on LinkedIn. And I thank you for that. And I think, I realize that in ASEAN, whenever I'm trying to search for Asian researchers, I find that it's harder for me to reach out to them, find them, as compared to if I was looking for researchers in Northern America or in Europe. So another way of building credibility besides papers and networking and friends is actually to have an online visibility. To give your thoughts, to connect with individuals, so that you build that trusted in silico network. So those of you who don't have a LinkedIn profile yet, please make it. Make yourself visible. Make yourself seen, even if you are worried to say something.
Good point on social media appearance and visibility. Not just share on fashion and what you wear today, so but your research and your activities, like in terms of research. Okay, we still have time, for second questions. Anyone who wanted to ask the second question? So just now we have someone from Malaysia, Dr. Anna from Malaysia. So probably Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, we have quite a lot of you over here. Indonesia?
All are very quiet because they have a lot of applications to do and they're already starting to collaborate and network already. They're like, enough, we understand what you said. I want to start collaborating.
So we will wait for a while. So before I close the session, please take this opportunity to really increase your visibility, because this is the chance, it's a closed platform. So you do not need to feel fear in saying something. So it may not, it can be your view, it can be an opinion. So, or it can be a question. That's how you start to build your network and start to let other people know about you.
And I'm very uncomfortable with silence, so I want to wish
Yes.
all my
I need to
Muslim
keep talking
friends
because Abi is very
Selamat
intolerable.
Hari Raya.
We
Right,
should clone a
Ahmed,
second Abby
yeah, we should
to
celebrate,
talk to
yeah.
you.
Pardon?
We should clone a second Abby to talk to you. No, I think I can also share something. I think there was some comment in the chat about introvert. I can share my experience. I was born introvert. Period. I had a fear of going to the classroom since I was in grade 1. Before I going to US in 1994, I barely know how to talk. Like even in English, of course. Or even in my own language, I just a typical Thai shy guy who also sit in the back and don't look at me and I'm not looking at them. But hey, things change. You can keep doing that, but you might get lucky in million years or something. But you don't get lucky now. It's your chance. And then of course, at the beginning it's kind of awkward. I have to pretending to be Abby. No, I was pretending to be someone who actually, approach people and think. But when you do it, I'm not saying I'm faking, but I'm just doing just for the purpose of what I want to accomplish. And of course, I think everyone who joined today also want to accomplish too. But of course, there's a thin line of being over friendly and faking and just doing the job. And believe it or not, after you have a freedom of choosing collaboration, now you can say, oh, maybe I just not going to any social events so much just to seek more partner or seek collaborate, because I already have full plate now. So and then you can start to look at, okay, how can I enjoy the collaboration, like what Professor Abby was mentioned, how can I make something that I really think that it matters to me or to my staff or to my research group. I break the ice for what? Break the silence for a few minutes now. So I just.
Thank you, Wong. Anyone who wanted to say something? Or else, I will just, close the session.
No,
and
somebody I
hand
think
it
said
back.
something.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
A bit
Hi,
curious
Hassan,
hearing
yes.
from you. Yes. I'm a bit curious to hear from you because no one is talking. Sounds good. Truly. Yes, I'm happy to share that I'm participating in all programs from ASEAN BCG, and I'm going to submit for phase 2. I hope, I don't know, because since it is very quite number of participants who get allowed to participate, there is scrutinize of applications. I don't know who will join or whether I am able to get engaged with this, but hoping is there and have much interest to be part of this. Anyway, another things like lots of informations I get, to be honest, from these sessions. That means last couple of sessions. But as my understanding, most of the informations, it is very much for young, very young, who are new freshers rather than experienced researchers who want to promote themselves more or in advanced levels. So my query is there any further that means scopes through ASEAN BCG Researcher Development Program for advanced level? Am I clear to understand? Hello?
Yeah, Nuwang, we can hear you.
Yes. So I can
Yes.
can you say it again? I lost the last part that you said.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
No, I'm talking like
I was
since-
listening carefully what you're gonna say. Okay.
Okay. As my understanding, participating ASEAN BCG Research Development Program, phase 1, I understand that the information we get from research personnel deliver different segments like communication, networking, skill development, different segments. Most of the informations was very much for the beginners
Mhm.
rather than advanced or mid-level researchers. My query is, even though maybe I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but my understanding is, so is there any opportunity for mid-level career researchers or advanced level research development program through ASEAN BCG program?
I see. Okay. So I think I seek the help from some of the I think NASA staff who actually run this program. So I'm not involved in selecting or anything. So I better ask someone who knows.
Hi, may I have a response to the comments? Hi, I'm Nat from International Cooperation Division of NSTDA. This is the ASEAN BCG Development Program. This is the first and a pilot program of this year. We start thinking of a very young researchers that we want to build a network. This is our objective at the first pilot scale. Of course, there are still we are now start discussion about the next year program, and we still working on it, and we will keep that there's the comments on the advance for researcher in the middle career development. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you so much for your nice and updated information. Just another query, little bit query, because as my understanding, there is lots of participants. Here is 120. Earlier, it was more than 150. And as my understanding, some of participants are not belongs to ASEAN. But in your phase 2 participation request, mention specifically only for ASEAN participants. So I'm wonder or afraid that means if any non-ASEAN apply, will be they eligible for phase 2 or not?
We have to say that sorry because of when we develop this program, we focus on the ASEAN nations at the first step that we can expand because of we looking at ASEAN that we can build together. But of course, ASEAN with the dialogue partners in other nations, it also that our focus in the future that we would like to build a very strong network in ASEAN first and then collaborate with other dialogue partners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this session have come to an end. Let us put our hand together to thanks Prof. Abi, Dr. Nuwong, Dr. Gunadi for spending an hour and a half with us over here to share their very valuable perspective on international networking. So with that, I would like to pass the screen back to the host, Pap. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaileshing and all speakers. So it's time to say goodbye. This is the end of the phase 1 section of our program, ASEAN BCG Researcher Development Program. But before we ending the section, so I would like to invite again Ms. Sornkranok Tangchai Pinat, Acting Director of International Cooperation Division of NASDAQ, to say something before we end the section, please.
Thank you, Bex. Dear participants, all the speaker here and moderator, it is my great pleasure to address this closing session on behalf of NASDAQ and organizing team. Allow me to first convey special thanks and appreciation to PMUB for your sponsorship, and to our dearest colleagues from EURASIX for co-organizing this training workshop series with us. I also would like to thank all the participants, including 1,400 registrants and over 300 continuously engaged attendees each sessions who attend the training, raised so many excellent questions, and shared your research and networking experience with us. Congratulations to all of you for your dedication and active engagement during phase 1 of the program. I believe this workshop series has been very successful in building a platform that brings together a new generation of talented researchers and empower them with essential skills for networking, especially in the sphere of sustainable development. I would like to remind you that though the phase 1 of the ASEAN BCG Development Program is coming to end, phase 2 awaits us in the coming July. For those of you who have not yet submitted your application, there are a few days left until the call closes on May 1st. Second phase will be an on-site workshop in Bangkok, where you will be able to work with mentors, strengthen your skills and proposal writing and project leadership. Finally, I would like to say that though today marks the closing of the phase 1 workshop series, I am convinced that we are well on the way to establishing a regional network for like-minded and high enthusiastic researchers that can work together to tackle some of the most urgent challenges facing us today. Thank you again for all of your contributions. Please keep in touch. Let's continue working together to strengthen this network, and look forward to seeing you again in July. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khun Sornkranok, for the closing remark. So for those who still have any question about the program or about the last section, so please send us email at aseanbcg@nstda.or.th, so we can email you about the information and all the questions asked to our speakers. So it's time to say goodbye. Thank you everyone for joining the section, and hope to see you in phase 2. Bye-bye and thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.